Hey guys, welcome back to another Soaked in Oil production. Today I'm going to be rebuilding the 550, and instead of filming every little bit, I'm going to be telling you what I'm going to do, and then I'll turn the camera off, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So the first step, everything's cleaned up and ready to go. I've used some enamel reducer to clean up both sides of the crank. I still need to clean up the top end, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. First thing I wanted to check out was the orientation of the crank seals. So this is the front of the engine, this is the rear. This side's going to be where the coupler's at, and this side's going to be where the flywheel's at. So the first step is figuring out the orientation of the crank seals. After extensive research online, I found this is the most suggested way to do it. So, and this is going to be for if you have two double seals, and I'll explain what that means in a little bit. So the first seal over here on the left, this is going to be once again on the flywheel side. You want the rubber side facing out, the zinc side facing in towards the crankshaft. This is a double seal, and this is what I said I would explain earlier. See how there's a spring here and a spring here? I don't know if you can see that. There's a spring on both sides. That means it's a double seal. So if you have two double seals, this is the way you want to do it. The first crank seal is going to have the rubber facing out. Now the second one on the inside, you want the rubber facing out towards the coupler and the zinc side facing in towards the crankshaft. And the outermost crank seal is going to have the rubber more hollow side facing out and the more solid side facing in. And like I said, this is what I found online. This is what most people have suggested, so that's what I'm going to do. I have cleaned up both sides of the crank case with this enamel reducer. It's similar to an acetone, but I like using enamel reducer because it's a great job. It does a great job at cleaning things. I also use it for when I wax my car, but that's for a different video. I'm going to get these crank seals installed in the crankshaft. I'm going to oil them up with some two-stroke oil, and then we're going to grease up these bearings, grease up these seals here and get them on the ski. And the next step is going to be using some of this Loctite 518. We're going to be smearing a thin layer around the outside of this crankcase here. Everywhere it's going to be mated, and that's going to seal both sides of the cases. So we're going to, you only need to do one side, so this is going to be the bottom half, this is the top half. I'm probably going to end up sealing, adding the sealant to the top half, so then when I put the bottom half on, it just goes right on top and I don't have to worry about it. The next step is going to be adding the bolts. There is a special pattern that you need to install the bolts in, and it's shown here. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. If you I don't know if you can see that. You can find this online, but that's the way you want to do it. You also want to add some blue Loctite to those bolts, and you want to torque them down to 16 foot-pounds, not inch-pounds, foot-pounds of torque. 16. Some people online suggest 18. I'm going to go with 16 just because that's what the manual says. And once again, like I said, add some blue Loctite to each of the threads, get them all torqued down, and then we can worry about the top end. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go ahead and grease these seals. I'm going to throw them on the crankshaft. I'm going to oil the crankshaft. That'll go in the ski. Then I'm going to worry about putting the gasket maker or Loctite 518 on the crankcase. Put the top on top, torque them down, and then we'll be ready to go for the top end. You also want to slide this stator over the crankshaft when you put the top end on, so keep that in mind as well. But that's what we're going to go ahead and do right now. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll be right back with you in a second. Alright guys, here's a quick update. We got the seals on, we got the washers on here, and we threw the other bottom end of the crankcase on and spun it, and it's not catching on anything. Everything's locked in. We got the pin in the top of the case here, so that's all locked in and ready to go. And we spun the rods and nothing's catching, so it's all ready to go. So next step is going to be putting the sealant on, we're going to do the bottom side, and then we're going to put the top half, excuse me, we're going to put the sealer on the top half of the case, and then put the bottom half on top, and go from there. Alright guys, so we've got it all torqued down. The engine spins smoothly with nothing pinching or hitting, so that's good. Everything seems to be good. Next up is going to be attaching the magneto to the engine. Instructions are here if you have the booklet. There's a housing bolt and washers, so that's going to be next, and then I will be right back. Alright, here's another quick update. There's bolt here, bolt here, bolt underneath here. Get all three of those in. Then the next step is lining up the stator here. I don't know if you can see that because of the light. This little tick mark right here needs to line up with the split in the case. See that? Right there? With that. And then you add these two screws with washers. 1, 2. Alright, that's the update for now. I'll be back in a second. Alright, so since the last update, we put the bed pan on. Then we went ahead and put the Woodruff key in. Then we put the flywheel on the crankshaft. Put the little lock tab things in. They look like this. Little lock washer. And then we put the flywheel nut on. I'm going to torque that down at a later date, but we put that on anyway. This is what the Woodruff key looks like. Goes in the crankshaft and holds the flywheel to the crankshaft. It's made to break if something seizes in your engine, so you don't ruin your whole crank. As you can see, that little line there. It's supposed to break in half, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But just a little fun fact, this is what the nut looks like that you saw right there. Yeah, that's basically it for now. Let's get to the top end now. Alright, so now we've got the coupler on. I don't know if I mentioned that last update. We've got the base gasket. We've got the oversized pistons, rings, wrist pin bearing, and the C-clips. I upgraded from single ring to double ring pistons to try and hold that compression a little longer this time. I went overbore on the cylinders here, and as you can see, the nice cross hatching from the honing process. So these are getting ready to go on. One thing you want to note is the arrow, and that's pointing towards the exhaust side. As you see the E, arrow E. I don't know if you can see that. Bring it in close. Arrow E. E stands for exhaust. This is the exhaust side. So you want that to be facing that way, and that's so that the piston rings don't get caught in these holes. It would absolutely demolish your engine immediately upon startup if you put them in the wrong way. So that's something to keep in mind as well. These are, like I said in a previous video, Wiseco pistons, or Wiseco, however you say it, Wiseco, and they are overbore. So this ski should be a little peppier than the stock 550. Don't know how big a difference that makes, but yeah, this is where we're at. I'm going to put the cylinders on, and then we'll do the head gasket, throw the head on and torque everything down, and then we should be good to throw some of the manifolds on. So I'll once again keep you updated, but that's where we're at. Looks pretty good. Welcome back, guys. It's day 2 on the engine. Just wanted to give you a little tip. It took me a little while to figure this out, but you want to put the pistons in the cylinders before you put them on the piston rods. Makes it a lot easier to install them. If you're trying to do this by hand, I don't have a piston ring compressor, so It definitely makes it a lot easier to put the pistons in the cylinders first, and then we can flip this over and put it on the bottom end. Another thing I've read online is to put some Loctite on the base gasket, just smear a thin layer on both sides, and that's supposed to help seal it better too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Slide it over the top, then we're going to put this the cylinder and pistons on here. We're going to slide the wrist pins through, get the C-clips in. Another tip to give you, leave the outer C-clips out on either sides. So when you have to go ahead and slide the wrist pin on, you can slide it through the outside, and then you can get the C-clip in a lot easier instead of trying to finagle the inner side. Just a little tip that I've noticed, save you some time and headaches. But yep, I'm gonna go ahead and do this now, and I'll get back to you. Alright guys, so this is gonna wrap up today's video. We got the obviously the top end all rebuilt and done. What else do we do? We got the flywheel torqued down. We stuck these ropes down the spark plug hole and out the exhaust, and torqued it down to 120 foot-pounds. We bent the flywheel washer around the nut so it won't come backed out. We got the exhaust manifold on, the intake manifold. We put the starter back on. The starter bolt was missing, so we went out and bought an M6 probably inch-long bolt, and that worked perfectly. We got the flywheel cover put on, and that's about it. I started cleaning up the hull. It's still full of grease, so this is probably going to be an hour-long plus project. And I did take the water box out, and what else did I do? I blew out the cooling line because we had sucked some sand in there, so I blew it out with compressed air, and that's about all we did today. So made some progress. I'm hoping to be working on this again tomorrow morning. I want to clean out the inside of that hull. I want the engine to be put back in. I want the exhaust, all new exhaust gaskets put on, and obviously the water box has to be put back in, and I'd like to try and start it tomorrow for the first time, so we'll see how that goes. But this is going to be the end of the engine rebuild video. I want to thank you guys again for watching my videos. I appreciate all the feedback. Once again, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for supporting the channel. We'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.